Today I'm going to try to draw the suspension bridge in Shrewsbury, England, and though it may share a striking resemblance to the setting of the previous drawing, I am in fact in a different place. It is the same river, and it is only like a 5-minute walk away, but it's not exactly the same. Yes, there's a weeping willow next to a bridge, but it's a different weeping willow and it's a different bridge. And I don't know why I'm still talking about it, because I don't think you'd care anyway. I hope you're doing well today. And if it's your first time here, I'm learning to draw while traveling the world. And this is day 170 of doing that. I've learned a lot, but I still naturally make plenty of mistakes. And if that sounds nice to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So, just like the last one, I wasn't sure how much of the scene I planned to capture. I knew that the bridge would be the focal point, but the extent to which I'd include the trees behind it, the riverside, any of the foreground, was initially a mystery to me. And that's probably a really good sign. However, unlike the previous drawing with the very complicated tree, I felt pretty confident about this bridge. So let's talk about it. I think that proportion was of the utmost importance here, especially in the beginning with the arched tower thing. As I've done plenty of times in the past, I try to pay attention to how one small section compares to another and then just build off of that. What's different here, though, and extremely convenient, is all of the sections with this like cross bracing. I'm essentially using the entire structure as its own giant real-world grid, thus improving my accuracy, or at least that's the idea. In order from most to least crucial, next on the list would definitely be perspective, which I'm sure you saw coming from a mile away. So obviously, there's the walking path part of the bridge that extends from the left, just above the riverbank, to the right, reaching beyond the frame. You'll notice that the bridge doesn't cut across the video perfectly horizontally, and that's for two reasons. The first is that the bridge slightly arches over the water, but the second, and more important with respect to perspective, is that I'm sitting a few feet below the bridge, meaning as it goes away from me, it will appear to angle downward. That's something I need to keep in mind here if I want this to stay realistic. Also, again, because my eye level is underneath the bridge, I can slightly see its underside and not the top of the walking path, meaning even if my idea of a bridge includes that walking path plane, I need to remember to disregard that and stick with what I can actually see, meaning I need to include a small sliver of the underside, which happens to be in dark shadow, as you'd expect. And that makes drawing it quite a bit easier since I don't need to contend as much with the angles or details down there. Eventually in the drawing, I come to the conclusion that a little bit of context will go a long way. I want to give the bridge as much attention as is necessary, crafting it as realistically as I can manage, and then use the context like the riverbank and whatnot to bolster it. I don't want to call too much attention to any of the other elements here unless I plan on rendering them to the same or a similar degree as the bridge, which I don't. However, I need to fill out at least some of the riverbank as it connects directly to the bridge, but I only do as much as I feel is necessary. That means some structured lines for the general shape, a few bits of light foliage here and there to imply that it's not all made of concrete or whatever, and just the most vague trees you've ever seen to suggest the general environment. Other than that, I do want the river itself to be part of the drawing, but this is something I'm very much still working on, but I treat it similarly to the previous drawing with these wavy reflections. I don't want to try to fill out the entire thing because that sounds impossible, even if I did. And that's about it. You can see what I mean by keeping the rest of the scene pretty vague, but as you get closer and closer to physically reaching the bridge, things get more and more concrete, figuratively speaking. And then, of course, the bridge itself is of a higher fidelity comparatively. I think this one turned out pretty good. I didn't know what to expect, and I had concerns after the tree from the other day, but I'm really Genuinely pleased with this one. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think, so let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.